Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Gravity Ace dev stream. Thanks for joining on a Sunday. Hope you brought your mimosas. Happy brunch time. All right. I'm not sure what I'm going to do today. Hold on, my phone just bonged. All right. I'm not sure what I'm going to do today. I think so. I'm looking at my working directory here, and it's a mess. Here's where I am. I'm trying to create something new. A new obstacle, a new hazard. There's the dog. New hazard for the game. It's gonna be these blobs. Look at that cool, kind of blurs things behind it. That's kind of cool. Yeah, I like that. So it doesn't look like much yet, but my idea is that it's gonna be a. See how it slows me down? It's like it's viscous, and it's like you're flying underwater. So you'll hit these blobs, and when you hit them, it acts like a brake. But they're also hard to just get through. You have to really power through them. Like here, I could just fly through, and my momentum carries me. But with these things, if I want to get through, especially if there's people shooting at me, it's like hard to dodge, hard to get out of the way. And there could be a whole section of these, right? There could be one there, one there, one there. So then it becomes kind of a more dangerous section because you're forced to slow down and you're forced to burn fuel at the same time. So I've got the basics of it working, and I think what I need to do is work on some visuals to go with the mechanic. And what I'd like is to have this look like a blob of water, because this is an ice world, and I'm imagining, bits of ice, break off, they get hit by the sun, and, it melts and it collects into these like blobby clusters of just liquid water. And yeah, so that's the idea. Let me show you the node setup for these things. They're pretty simple. It's a area 2D, has a round collision shape, and has a sprite. And I'm doing this mess with back buffer copy, which I don't fully understand, but what it basically does is when you're doing screen space shaders, this is Godot 3.23. When you're doing screen space shaders, the first shader that accesses the screen texture causes the game to make a copy of the screen. And any other shader then that uses that does a screen shader will use that copy that it took earlier. So they don't stack on top of each other. The effects don't stack. But a back buffer copy forces the engine to take another copy of the screen so that the effects can stack. It's explicit because it's kind of I guess it's a performance hit to take a screen capture of the entire screen each frame and to do multiple of them. I think Godot 4 has an optimization for this, or with the new renderer in version 4, you don't need to do this anymore, but I don't know why. I'm not a graphics engine guy. So I've got this sprite, which is just this round blue thing right now, and it's got a shader, and all the shader does is pretty simple. It just takes whatever's behind it at this 0.6 level of detail, which causes it to be a little bit blurry, and then it changes the alpha, and then it just spits out the new combined texture, which is the background texture combined with its texture and then with a lowered opacity. Very, very simple shader. Yeah. So this, I think I want to turn into an animated sprite and make this look like kind of a blobby thingy. And then I probably also want to add a particle shader or a particle system to this to be like bubbles or something kind of in the water to give it some texture. A texture to give it some texture. But let's start with like making the surface of it kind of wavy. And then what I want to do is I want to add in, whenever something interacts with it, I want to see a splash. When something enters it or when it exits it, I want to see a splash at the right position. So yeah, that's what I'm going to try doing today. All right, here we go. Pixel art time. I use a sprite and I use my trusty bamboo Wacom bamboo tablet with a little pen. Nothing fancy. I've had this thing forever. I don't even know how. I don't think they don't make them anymore. Not this model. They make a model of it, but not this one. Where would this thing be? This would be in props. Textures. Okay. So it's just a PNG file. So what I'm going to do right off the bat is just save it as an A-sprite file, and then I can get all the layers and animation frames and so on. All right, so let's go for 12 frames. Okay. And I'm going to play them. And right here, I'll just load my palette. So I think this is going to be pretty simple. I just want to do something like that. Turn on the onion skin. See that? Let's tag all these. How come it's not showing me the next frame? Drawing on the wrong frame. All right, so I want to do something like that. Yeah, so that wave, there's a wave kind of going that direction. Let's see, let's do one, something like that. Probably need some cutting away as well at some point. Hey, here, Hammerstar. I'm going to say Hammerstar. HH. Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Are you working on a game? Nope. That's okay. It's probably better for your sanity if you're not. I don't know. This isn't feeling very organic yet. Well, like I tell everybody, when you're doing art like this, how long have we been doing this? 15 minutes. And I talked for 5. So I've been doing this 10 minutes. I've been drawing 10 minutes. When you're doing this drawing stuff, 10 minutes isn't enough time. It takes a good half an hour before I get warmed up. And then, you know, it just takes a while to kind of get into it, get into the groove, find something that you like, that I like. And it's just kind of a slow, laborious process. Hey, Slacks. How's it going, buddy? Jeez. Yeah, it is a nice blue dot. Thank you for noticing. I'm working on a blob of water that you can fly through. And it's going to be a new environmental hazard in the levels. So you see I've got 3 blobs of water here. And when when you fly into one, they're kind of viscous. They slow you down. You have to thrust through them. They're hard to dodge inside of, so if you're getting shot at, right, you want to avoid these things if you can, because they slow you down and they use up your fuel. There's no damage or anything that comes from them, but sometimes you'll have to go through them, like in a tight quarter like this, and you'll just have to kind of be extra careful. You know, you could see, I can imagine a scenario where you're like running out of fuel. You come up here and you're like, oh man, I gotta go through this. And you're like, all right. And you're running out of fuel, and you can see the fuel right there. And you're running out, and you're running out, and you're running out, and then you get it. Oh, thank goodness I made it. But right now it's just a blue dot. So I'm trying to make it look watery and blobby. And yeah. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm debating with the crystals, actually. One of my friends pointed out that perhaps, so you see the crystals are static. And then I've got these alien-looking plant things, right? And he'd suggested that perhaps I want to change the behavior of these plants so that they only move when the player touches them. So you get some kind of like reactivity out of them instead of them just jiggling all the time. And I mean, I can see pros and cons either way. The idea behind these things is that they make the world seem more alive, right? And do you get that if they're all static until you touch them? Some would argue maybe it seems more alive if you do it that way. Other people might say, well, I don't know. If they're just still until you touch them, it might seem less alive. I don't know. What do you guys think? I don't know. It could go either way. Right now, they just wiggle all the time. Ugh. Thank you for the follow. Script welder. That's a cool name. Thank you for the follow, sir. Sir or madam, whichever you prefer. Yeah, exactly, right? It's hard to say which would be best. And I think it's going to come down to preference, and I can't design for preference. Some people are going to like it one way, and other people are going to like it another way. It doesn't really matter, per se, because it doesn't affect the gameplay at all. And I'm trying to, like, guess, will more than 50% of people like it one way or another? And there's just no way for me to know. It's fine now the way it is, so my instinct is just to leave it unless people complain about it. Especially because solo game developer, I just don't have time. I ain't got time. Oh my lord. I'm a solo game developer who has to deal with mail. Yeah, I just ain't got time. Yeah. Follow your instincts. Are my instincts any good? That's a whole nother question. You know what? I don't know if I like this. The next version of Godot has soft body physics. Which would be useful, I think, for something like this. I think there's just something going on this right side. See how it just doesn't move here? For like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like 9 frames, it just doesn't move. It's too static. Slacks. Oh, man. I don't know. Now this seems like it's too wiggly, right? It's the same kind of complaint. I want this to be, so this is a blob of water, right? It's supposed to be kind of like, I would think it would be undulating a little bit slower than this. Let's put it in the game and see how it looks. Let's just put it in and see how it looks. By rows with 3 columns, 4 columns. Yeah, that works. Export. All right, let's look at the game. Change this to animated sprite. Animated sprite. Yes, it's the refraction, the warping of the light combined with the shape of the surface, right? It's when I'm doing stuff like this that I think, why am I making a 2D game? This would be so much easier if it was a 3D game. I don't know if that's true. I don't think that's true. But that's what I think when I'm doing stuff like this. I mean, maybe. Bloop. Sploosh, bloop. Sploosh, sploosh. 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 Sploosh, sploosh. Sploosh, sploosh. Sploosh. Ah, free. Alright, that's the idea. Bloop, bloop, bloop. I don't know. Thanks. There's a game called Hidden Folks. I bought it for my wife. Very cute game. It's on Steam. recommend it. It's sort of a Where's Waldo, you know, click around, find the guy. But all the sounds in that game are all mouth noises that I think came out of the mouth of the designer of the game. And it's adorable. It's very cute. All right, so I think I don't like how quickly this is undulating. I don't like the waves here. I don't like the way they look, and I don't like the speed of them. So let's take 2. How can I do this? To make it a little more, I don't know what the right word is. Let's make a copy of this. All right. To make it a little more, I don't know. I still don't know the word. What if I did just made them kind of bigger? I think I'm already ending up kind of in the same territory I was in before. Yeah. Hey, Herrick. Rotating the sprite in the engine, maybe it looks better that way. Maybe. You know what I'm kind of thinking though is what if I did something nutty like give it some bones and then distorted the actual sprite with the bones. Maybe. You know what I need to look at is I need to look at some water. Let's look at some actual water droplets. I'm trying to do this from imagination, and I feel like I'm struggling partly because I don't know what a floating water droplet actually looks like. Floating blob of water in space. There's got to be a video of this. Thank you, NASA. That is cool. Okay, so there's two things I can see happening here. There's two oscillations. There's a large scale oscillation kind of making it do this. And then on top of that, there's a shorter time frame vibration happening at the same time. Oh, look at this one. Look at this one. This one's not wibbly as much. What the heck did he do to it? It's full of bubbles. So now this one isn't wibbly at all. It's just kind of floating, but its shape is just slowly morphing from one shape to another as these bubbles pop. And then look at these reflections on the surface. You can kind of get a sense of the shape of this bubble and the fact that it's weirdly shaped based on all these weird reflections and highlights going on it. All right, what else we got? This is the same video, same video, same video. You know, I was talking about maybe doing this in 3D. Maybe that's the way to do it, is make a 3D model of this and animate it and then turn that into a sprite.
If you get a cloth dripping wet without gravity and you wring it out, what's going to happen? What will happen to a wrung out cloth?
What'll happen to a wrung out cloth?
This little tiny hockey experiment today. And then we're going to see what'll happen when we wring it out. The water's all over my hands. In fact, it wrings out of the cloth into my hands. And if I let go of the cloth carefully, the water sort of has it stick to my hand. Okay, so the experiment worked beautifully. And
It's pretty cool.
it's becoming a tube of water. The water's all over my hands. In fact, it wrings out of the cloth into my hands. And if I let go of the cloth carefully, the water sort of has it stick to my hand. It's really wet. It's becoming a tube of water. The water's all over my hands. In fact, it wrings out of the cloth into my hands. And if I let
So cool. All right, I don't know if that helped me or not. I think I do want some motion. Let's do that. Let's just make it real subtle though. Real real, not subtle so much, but real slow. Not much change from frame to frame. Yeah, that's more interesting. And then I think I would expect on this side for it to be like a little bit going the opposite direction. Maybe, maybe. Anybody else out there watching Expanse? The Expanse? I think I'm in season 4. Are there 5 seasons? I'm in not the last season, but the one before that. Pretty good show. Yeah, no spoilers for us latecomers then. But it is a pretty good show. That's looking better. Oh yeah, we're getting better, right? See, I told you. First whack at it for me never works out very well. And then subsequent whacks do better. trying to smooth things out a little bit now here. So I've got the general kind of feel of it going, and then there are a couple areas where there's just a little hitch, like there, 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 right there at the bottom, where it's like, feels like it moves too much. It's right there, right there. And there's another hitch right up here. Right there. It's hard to see. Right there. Looking for like quick changes in direction that I don't want. Oops. Little what do you call them? Discontinuities. And I'm looking for still areas that are still for more than a few frames, like this left edge right here. I think I'm going to carve that out a little bit. Too much. Carve it in just a tiny bit right there. All right, and then there's another one right here. It's like 3 frames right here. It's like a weird hitch right there. What happened there? Oh. There we go. All right, let's try that. Let's export that. See how that looks. Into the game. Okay. That looks okay, but see how they're all playing the identical animation? So here's a little trick. Every sprite has a frame, right, that it starts on. This one has 12 frames. So in the script for this sprite, I do in the ready function, we can say animated sprite dot frame equals frames, like that. Yeah. So this will start it on a random frame. So if I reload this, int and object. Oh, this isn't a number, is it? Frames dot length. What is that? Animated sprite frames is sprite frames, which has get frame count. So this can be get frame count. Let's see if that works. Expected one argument. Well, maybe you remembered right. I don't know if I'm getting this right. So I want sprite frame or animated sprite. Frames, which returns one of these. Get frame count. Oh, I need to give it the animation. Okay. Okay. Like that. Let's make this a little simpler to read. Frame count equals that. And then I'm going to play that. All right, so I get the frame count for this animation default. I set the current frame of my sprite to a random number mod the frame count, which means it'll just turn it into a random frame from 0 to however many frames there are, and then play it. If it doesn't work right, it's because play resets the frame to 0. But it's working. Right, if I put them all on top of each other, you can see they're all slightly out of phase with each other. So they don't look so samey now. I mean, they still do, but not as much as before. Yeah, being able to pass in a starting frame would be nice. With Animation Player, you can tell it to seek to a position. So I use that on some of my other animations where I have a sprite and then an animation player for doing the animations. And I just seek to a random number from 0 to 1. That works pretty well. I'm starting to use animated sprites more though, especially for simple stuff like this, because it removes the animation player node from the tree. Just makes things a little tidier. Alright, that works pretty well. So I got my water blobs. It's hard to keep it all straight, isn't it? Yeah, a lot of things I use Animation Player. Some things I use Animated Sprite. Like, I don't know, I'll open up just any random thing, and it probably has, it probably uses Animation Player. Explosion. Yeah, see, here's one. So I've got a sprite, and I control a bunch of different things, all with the Animation Player, including some function calls, the animation itself. Right, so here's the frames of the animation itself. Turn off snapping. Right, but it's also doing this glow thing, changing the scale. So yeah, Animation Player is great. And then I can make the animation. I don't do it with explosions, but if this was a different animation, you could seek to, you know, a random position in here and then play it from there. And for looping animations, it works great because then it kind of makes each one a little bit different. Yep. All right. All right. So now let's see. How am I going to do this splash thing? Let's do a 64 by 64 sprite, and we'll just go blap, blap, blap. And, oops. Blah, 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 blah. This is placeholder. All right, so now I've got a placeholder splash. And I'll export that as a, just like that. All right, so now I've got a splash placeholder. There was a funny meme. What was it? Oh man, I probably didn't save it. It was just something along, it was stupid. It was the winky face one, where the woman's winking, and the caption was something like, placeholder art, I'll replace it later. Wink. It tickled me. It made me laugh. Oh, there it is. It was this meme, but the caption was, I'll replace this placeholder art later. This is pretty good too. Feeding the pelicans until, look how big this guy is. ridiculous. All right, so I want to have a splash when you hit this thing. Who's going to make the splash? The ship, the blob should make the splash. The blob should make its own splash. So the blob needs to detect when a body enters it or exits it. So we'll connect those signals. The bodies that I'm dealing with are rigid bodies. So I want body entered and body exited. It will slow projectiles inside of them. The way it does it is I'm just using the engine's physics. So the engine has this linear damping factor and this angular damping. And so it just takes anything with a velocity, any rigid body, and just damps down their motion. The problem I'm having with projectiles right now is that they move so fast that you don't notice it. Although maybe you'd notice it if you're shooting through 3 of them. Let's see. So like I'll shoot some bullets down here. See, they're just going so fast. They're just really trucking. And you can barely, if it's slowing down, it is slowing down, but it may be such a small, it doesn't have much time to slow down because it's not in there very long. So I had this problem with gravity wells as well. Oh man, these are going to be great. So if you add a gravity well, right, the gravity wells have gravity, obviously. And let's crank that up. So these things will deflect bullets as well, right? Like that. But by default, they don't do much of anything. Even with the gravity cranked way up, because these projectiles are moving so fast. Let's do this. Because these projectiles are moving so fast, they would normally escape very quickly. But I wanted to see it do stuff like this. So when a bullet hits a gravity well, it changes its physics a little bit to make it more susceptible to the gravity. It just scales up the amount that the gravity well affects it by like a factor of 10 or something. But only while it's in a gravity well. Normally, it's not affected by gravity at all. So I think I'm going to have to do something like that for these as well. Just when they're in a blob, make the projectile linear damping just go to 20 or something. Just so you can really see the effect, you know. The projectiles don't have much mass. I really screwed up when I created this stuff. Because I didn't fully understand what I was doing. I would do it differently now. But, so like, take a look at my ship, for example. The ship has a mass of 2. Right? Which, it's fine. But it doesn't give me much room, you know, to mess around with stuff. What I should have done was made the ship with like a mass of 200 and then built the game around that. But instead I built it with a mass of 2, and so bullets end up having a mass of like 0.1 or something. It's just all these small numbers, and it's kind of a problem. So yeah, if I was going to do this again, I would definitely change the mass of things. What is the mass of a bullet? The ship's bullets are, look at, see, 0.1, right? So this, these are supposed to be kilograms or something, right? So this should have been like, you know, 10 kilograms, right, per shell. The ship should have been like, you know, 2,000 kilograms, right? And then the game would have been, you know, more realistic. But instead I just went with 2 because I didn't know what I was doing. And then by the time I had everything working the way I liked, I was like, I can't change it now. So, yeah, that's what we're looking at. I think this is kilograms, isn't it? See, I still don't even know. Mass. Moment of inertia, weight. Well, what's the weight? Weight's 19.6. This is a weird number too, but it assumes Earth gravity, which is 9.8 meters per second per second. So this has to be kilograms. Units. .6 units. So I could say this is tons, but then I don't know. Anyway, I screwed up. It's difficult to deal with these small numbers, and when the ship is only 2, that only gives you a limited number to go down, right? Because the smallest you can make something is 0.01, and then having to type in 0.01, 0.02, 5, right? I would much rather have just said bullets are 2, ship is 2,000, and gone from there. But that'll be for the next game. That'll be the next game. Close that. Don't save. Close you. Don't save. That's a good question. If you slow a projectile when it's in a blob, do you want it to speed back up when it exits? The answer is no. I'm thinking of these projectiles not as missiles, but as slugs. You know, they're bullets. So all the energy that they have came from the ship. Yeah. Like, I just think it'd be cool to see you trying to shoot out of one of these things and all your bullets just go pom 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 and then sink. Or trying to shoot an enemy on the other side of one and your bullets just go pom 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 and then blah. I think that would be cool to see. All right. So I have the body when it enters the area, and then I can get a vector to that location, right? So I can get a direction equals body dot global position minus global position, right? So this is a vector from the center of the blob to the body that entered. This is where it entered. And then I could spawn one of the splashes right there. Is it that simple? Oh, I need to make the splash. Wait a minute. I already have something called splash? Oh, that's my splash scene. That's the Godot logo and all that when you first load the game. Okay, so that's fine. Let's create a scene for the splash. The splash will not interact with anything. It's just a 2D scene with a animated sprite. Let's go with animated sprite. It's going to have my sprite frames from my, let's save it. Save it in props. All right, there's water blob. Let's call this water splash. And it's got sprite frames, and it's got these sprite frames. And then the animation finished. Oh, let's add a script. And then animation finished will connect to here where I'll just cue free the whole thing. So it'll play the animation once and it'll stop. And this will play at 12 and it's not going to loop. All right. So then this needs to load that splash. Preload it. And then I will instance one. And position it. Actually, do I need this? I could just put it at body, right? I'll keep this vector. I might want it. Well, let's remove it. Look at me waffle. Let's do that. So when the body enters, it's going to instance the splash, position it at the position of the body, and add it to the scene. And I want my splash to be what's called a, I'm going to tag it with a group called transient. Anything that I don't want to survive into the level editor, I group into this transient group. And these are all just cleared from the game. Whenever you go into the editor, when a level loads, it just erases all of these. Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. I knew I wanted the vector for some reason. So yeah, I do want this because I want to orient the splash in the direction of that, in that direction. So it would be direction.angle, right? That way it can kind of bloop, burst out of the bubble. So let's put this at a directional arrow here so we can just see that happening. Let's put it on every frame. Bop, 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 bop. Right? Da-da-da, da-da-da. I want to do the same thing when it exits, but let's just see if this works. Ah, look at that, it worked. Sploosh, sploosh, sploosh. 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 Sploosh in and sploosh out. Oh, it didn't get the sploosh out. Sploosh in, it did two. That's weird. That's kind of weird. It's a little funny behavior going on there. It's probably because it's detecting multiple bodies. The shield is a body. There could be a lot of different bodies going on here. A lot of bodies going on. And I didn't put in the code for going out yet. Oh, that'll look cool, won't it? With all the splooshes. Sploosh, sploosh, sploosh. Sploosh, sploosh. So many splooshes. Alright. So I do think I want this here as well. And since I just duplicated this code, let's call this Sploosh. Sploosh. And we'll say func sploosh. So I'm very strongly following my principle here of coding, which is make it work, then make it pretty, then make it fast. And I am right now in the make it work phase. So it's not pretty, it is ugly, both visually and code-wise. Yeah, that's interesting. So you can see, because the projectile's moving so quickly, the intersection point is... The intersection point isn't exactly right. So what I want to do is, instead of this, I want to put it in the direction. Yeah, I want to do body. I want to do the position of this of the blob plus the direction normalized times its radius, which is, I don't even know what it is. It's going to be the radius of this shape. 59. Let's do dot shape dot radius collision shape 2D. Is that right? Well, assuming this is right, what the idea here is that it's going to put the sploosh right at the edge of the blob every time. Yeah, there it is. See, it's working. Sploosh, sploosh. And I don't want to detect the shields, so let's turn off shield detection. If body dot has entity type ID and body dot entity type ID equals shield, non-existent function has. Is it get? Here it is. Alright. So it's going to ignore shields now. So I get one sploosh when the ship enters, sploosh, and one ship when it leaves. One sploosh when it leaves. Sploosh, sploosh, sploosh. Projectiles. Sploosh, 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 sploosh. They're all oriented the correct directions. Pretty cool. All right, let's add a fun little animation for the sploosh. Don't know if it's a helpful approach for how you work at all, but I have some checks in most of my projects for whether a key is held at startup and do things like skipping the main menu and loading into that last save or a debug state. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So I frequently, so you've seen me doing this, right? Like I start the game, I hit space. Oops. See, I screwed it up. I go into the editor. I load my test scene. Boom, right? And what I would like to do is just have it go directly here. And I keep thinking, let's make a key that does that. and I never do it. Let's add that to my to-do list because I think that would be useful to show people. I'm not going to do it right now, but this will give me something to do on the next stream. All right, let's add a card for add hotkey to go directly to the test scene and play it. This is a, well, it's none of that stuff. That's fine. Yeah, we'll do that, and we'll do that next time. Thank you for reminding me about that. Every little second counts, right? And I probably underestimate how much time I spend going through the menu. Pros and cons, you know, just like with everything. On the one hand, I test my menu pretty well. You know, if the menu got messed up, I would know. Con is if it's 6 seconds to get to there, and I do it 100 times a day. That's 10 minutes times a year, you know, of development is just hours and hours and hours of my life that I'll never get back. Right? You're like, oh, dang it, I missed it. Yeah. Yep. So that'll be fun. That'll be fun. All right, so let's do a quick sploosh. So I got my placeholder. We tested the orientation. The code works. So now let's draw a sploosh. And I'm just going to draw a quick one. I'm not going to get too into it because I feel like this is one of those things that needs to be like, you know, it's going to take a while to get it right. And I've already been streaming for what, hour and a half? And I'm a little tired. I haven't showered yet today. That's why I'm wearing this hat. And so yeah, I'm gonna draw some sploosh. We'll test it out in the game. We're gonna see how rad it looks. And then I'm gonna go take a shower and take a nap. And that'll be my Sunday. Let's see. So the splooshes, they're gonna kind of go this way. You know what I want to do? I don't like drawing sideways. So I'm going to draw the sploosh here. And then when I set up the sploosh scene, I'm going to set its origin point right there. Right? That's going to be the origin of the sploosh. And it's going to be doing its splooshy thing. And it's going to be awesome. But this way I'll be able to draw it up and down. But in the engine, it's going to be rotated to the side, so the rotation angles all work, and everything's going to be great. Yeah, you might be right about that. I might need more than one sploosh. An entry sploosh, an exit sploosh. Because an entry sploosh is going to be like a... I mean, they will look different. The exit sploosh will be more of an explosive thing, like a mound that goes up and then explodes. That would be the exit sploosh. And an entry sploosh is going to be more like a impact and then kind of a straight out and then mist, and it'll be more of a point impact type of thing, I think. Let's look at some impacts. Let's see. Bullets going into water. I don't want to see underwater, do I? Well, let's go ahead and see it.
There's a certain strain of bacteria called lactobacillus
Blah,
reuteri.
blah, blah.
18,000. How many?
Hey.
What? I have to pee.
Oh. This will be cool to see, even though it's not what I want.
There should be quite a lot coming out because it's only a short road.
Let's see.
Quite interesting.
Bullets hitting surface of water.
Hey there, welcome to Bar.
Ugh,
We all know bullets.
what a tease. Sploosh. Yeah, so it's more, that's more explosive. Kind of goes straight up where it hit, right? You want to say hi to everybody?
Sure.
You have to really lean in here if you want to get in the camera.
Oh, who's everybody?
Well, it's just, you know, game dev friends all hanging out, watching bullets shooting into the water.
Oh my God. I don't know.
That was pretty cool. I wonder if they got one bullets shooting out of the water. Bullets bouncing on the water. That's fine. It's fine. That's good enough. It looks kind of how I figured it would look. I'll tell her you guys said hello. All right, so let's see. This will be kind of the start of it, and then yeah, let's turn on the old onion skin. All right. So this is going to be kind of right. And then what would it do in space? It wouldn't fall back down in space. It would just kind of keep going, right? Would it slow down even? I don't think so. But that's okay. I'm not sure. This is a video game. I just want it to look cool. I don't need it to be realistic. All right. That's not quite 12 frames, so this isn't right, but Maybe I don't need 12 frames. Maybe 9 is fine. Let's call this... My names are really getting bad. Oh, I already saved it. Splash, export it. Let's say 3, 3, 6, 9, right? And then here I can change my water splash animated sprite to be 3 by 3. Hey, straight up gruntled and friends. Thanks for coming in, everybody. You arrived just in time. We're about to do something cool. So I need to move this up here. Nope. I'm making water splooshes. It'll all become clear in a minute. But I'm making water splooshes. And then I think I want to rotate this whole thing. Like that, right? Whoops. Put it right there. And change its origin. How do I change its origin? It should be minus 20? No. Minus 24? Oh yeah, right there, right there, right there. All right, let's see if this works. Control V to set the pivot offset. That's cool. I didn't know that. Whoops. All right, water splooshes. Here we go. Oh, look at that. So that's not bad, actually. So one thing about these that I noticed right away, a couple of critiques. I mean, let me just say, first of all, I think that's not bad, right? As a first pass, pretty good. Sploosh. Sploosh. Yeah, the going out sploosh, you were right, Valiant. The going out sploosh needs to be different than the going in sploosh. The impact sploosh and the exit sploosh should look different, so I'll need different splooshes. And I'll probably do that actually by, I can just have this water splash sprite, but I'll have two different animations. One will be the enter, right? And the other will be the exit. And I can pass in which one I want to do. Yeah. So I have the I have the splooshes hitting, but so there's a couple things I don't like. One, I do like. I mean, they look pretty cool. They don't quite look like water to me, for one. So that needs to be addressed. I would like to see more blobby droplets, kind of like this blob, but smaller, kind of floating away from the thing. So I think this scene would benefit from a small particle system that emits, 4 or 5 little blobby particles kind of floating away. The impact itself also could use some new animation, or slightly different, better animation. It's too slow. The first couple of frames are too slow. I think I want the splash to be much bigger, much more impactful right off the bat. So if you look at the animation, you'll see the first frame is very small. Let me turn off the onion skid. The first frame is very small, the second frame is pretty big, and the third frame it's already starting to dissipate, right? But that's not fast enough. I think I want to start it right here. Or make this frame much bigger, right? Something more like that. Let's go ahead and export that actually. And then we can restart. Will this load it? Oh, I need to go to the editor. There it is. Then go back here and restart. Oh, still not loading it. There it is. So see, that's better. Right, you just see a big splash right off the bat, and then it starts to dissipate. So something along those lines to make the animation play faster. It looks a little bit like smoke. That's the other thing, right? It needs to look more watery. It needs to look more watery. But right off the bat, I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad. The core of the idea is there, and it's looking pretty good. It's pretty cool. All right, so my to-do list for this thing. All right, let's go in here. So, thank you. In some ways, life is just a series of splooshes. I feel like I'm being splooshed right now. Splooshes. When I work on something, I didn't put splooshes in here. So splooshes should have been here. And then I move it to review. And I look at it, I play with it for a little while and see what it needs, and then it goes back to in progress. So things might go in progress, review. I kind of sit with it for a few days, go back and make some changes, sit with it a couple more days, and if I like it enough, it's done. So right now we're in review, and I have a checklist here of things I need to do. One is I need an exit, separate enter and exit splooshes. I need a sploosh sound. I need sploosh particles. I need water blob internal particles, because the water blob itself just looks a little plain. It's just a solid field of color, and it could use some more stuff going on inside. Enter and exit splooshes, a sploosh sound, sploosh particles, internal particles. I need to rework the enter sploosh animation. Right, so I need to do that. Let's change this one to say an exit sploosh. Right, so basic sploosh, basic water blob. Done, right? I did those. And now I have this list of things to polish it and make it look nice. Maybe some kind of specular reflection thingy. Maybe some kind of reactivity like oops. Can you make the water blob jiggle when it's when hit? Maybe. I think I can. Again, again, I keep thinking about bones. I did an experiment with bones a while back on 2D sprites where you create your sprite, you connect some bones into it, and then you can deform the sprite based on the movement of the bones. And so I could do some procedural animation with that by just having like have a bunch of bones on this blob, and when it gets hit by something, I could make the bone on that edge kind of go inward and vibrate, bounce a little bit. So you see the jiggle. Maybe. I mean, I know I can, but I don't know if it's worth doing. We'll see. Once you've got a bunch of effects in there, things like this, maybe you don't need it. And this would be more difficult and more resource intensive than just doing some animations. So I'm going to do that stuff first. And it needs the animations anyway. This would kind of be extra. This would be extra. Yeah. All right. So, yeah. So I just need... It's in review, which means I just need to go and shoot these splooshes a lot. Oh, that looks pretty dope, though. But I need to shoot these splooshes a lot. See what I like about them, what I don't like about them. And then change them up a little bit. And rework some of that art. When you hit it at an angle like that, it still shoots straight out right where it hits, which was pretty realistic. That's how the ones in that video worked. When it was kind of skipping across the surface. Sploosh. 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 I think it might be fun, too, to do, like, maybe an audio filter inside the water blob. I could make it sound like everything's underwater when you're in there. Shit, that's a lot of work. So am I working on more campaigns and stuff for Gravity? I am indeed. 24 levels is not enough. So I'm building a whole new area, an ice cave area, with all new ice cave and watery hazards and enemies and special effects, the whole 9 yards. And it's going to be more difficult in a lot of ways than the original area, because the first area in the game, like the first 6 or 7 levels, were kind of tutorial, and this area won't need any tutorial. So it's going to be 24 levels of pure madness. Yeah, it'll be cool. But I have to make all the bits for it first. I have to make all the bits. I got to make the blobs. I got to make the enemies. I got to do all this stuff. Ice tanks and ice rays and chunks of ice that stick to you and breakable ice walls and reflective mirror ice walls and all this stuff. And then I can make the levels for the ice world. And then, I don't know, hopefully release it soon. I'm excited about it. And then the third area would be something like the void. Something very dark and surreal, maybe. Something... Ooh, maybe like you've gone inside of a black hole. Anyway, I'm doing Ice World first. So yes, more levels, icy world, splooshes are on the docket. Great, cool. So I think that was really successful, guys. I really appreciate everybody hanging out. It looks like we've got 11, 12 viewers in here. Thank you very much, every single one of you, for coming by. I'll stream again soon. Don't know when. But within the week, and we'll work on these splooshes or maybe other things. I've got to build this hotkey system so I can go into my test scene a little faster. Thanks to Valiant for pointing that out to me. And yeah, there's lots of stuff to do. It's a big game, and I just never seem to run out of to-do things on my list. But yeah. Thanks for dropping by, everybody. If you don't know the game, please go visit gravityace.com. You can get all the links. You can see my Twitter. You come join me on the Discord. You can see it on Steam. It's in early access right now. And again, thanks for dropping by. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.